Hey, everybody, welcome to the Business Spotlight. Today I'm joined by David Hancock, founder and CEO of Ridgeline Roasters. David, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Ridgeline Roasters is a family owned business committed to bringing the finest coffee to the local community in South Dakota, as well as across the country through their e-commerce site. David, welcome. I'm hoping today you can just share a little bit about your business, your journey. We can start with what made you get into this business?
Yeah, a little bit unconventional on how we got into the business. Grew up on the mission field most of my life, and been around the coffee fields, mostly rural areas where they grow coffee in the mountains of Mexico and Nicaragua, places like that. And so, been around coffee my whole life. I've seen them roasted over a fire. I've seen them do it in these drum roasters from forever ago. And so been in that coffee growing culture, but didn't learn how to roast coffee until 2000, and I think it was 2019 was when I started roasting coffee and kind of opened up to the world of the chemical processes and how it was, how you develop a bean and all that kind of stuff. And a man named Jeremy Doss, he is the one who developed what I call the Doss method of roasting coffee. He kind of throws out a lot of conventional roasting wisdom, because in my opinion, people are guessing whenever they're roasting coffee. Is they just kind of throw it in there, and if it's the right region and it's the right elevation, then it's going to be around this temperature to roast, and it's very much a guessing work, and roaster dependent on good flavor, right? The way the Doss method is, it's like we go through and we cup every single temperature of coffee. And the coffee nerds out there will understand this, but like from first crack all the way through past second crack, well into second crack. So basically from way too light to burnt to hell, and to get the full spectrum of what good flavors of coffee it's going to be in. And we're able to keep with those profiles really consistently. So I feel like it's like taking care of the effort of the farmer, and the people that grow it, and taking a lot of care into developing exactly what that region's flavors are supposed to be, instead of just kind of taking what everybody else has guessed at and throwing it in a bag and calling it good.
That's interesting, because I've worked with a lot of coffee roasters over the years, but I've never really thought about how you might, I guess for lack of a better term, you might screw up the farmer's good work if you don't do your job right on the roasting side. That's cool.
Yeah, especially after working with farmers and knowing how long it takes in the development process, and how much work they have to do to make sure it's shade grown, and the picking process. And most of the good coffee in the world is grown on the side of mountains, so you can't harvest it with machines. It's all hand picked. It's 200 to 300 people a day during the picking season, going through and picking by hand all these coffee cherries. And so whenever, I always keep that in mind whenever I'm roasting coffee. It's like, okay, this is not just something to be taken lightly. And there are other good roasters out there. I think that there are some incredible coffee companies, and not everybody's garbage and I'm the best and all that kind of stuff, right? But the unique way that we do develop a roast is, we've roasted over 100,000 pounds of coffee, and the profiles that I originally developed and independently cupped by 2 different SCA certified coffee cuppers, it's maintained its quality over the last 5 years of roasting the exact same profiles. And so, it's pretty phenomenal. I think it's a little different, but it works. I have way too many good cups of coffee, too many roasts to even put in bags. It just makes it exciting. So I can grab, any region in the world, go through our discovery process, cup everything, and have the top quality that it's capable of producing. you know, and so that's pretty cool.
It sounds like it creates a incredibly consistent product.
Yeah. And that's you know, we for a while there we weren't resting on our own ability. We were just like, well, maybe we're wrong, you know, maybe this is not true. And so we cupped every single roast that we produced, and you know, after 6 months of it being the exact same thing, it was like, okay, maybe we do have something. We figured out at least a little sliver of this industry, you know.
Nice. So I'm going to tell a little story here. I was a little bit didn't know what to think going into this.
Yeah.
I had to call some folks. You know, before we do these, my team, you know, gives me notes. And getting back to the story, in the notes, it said that, you know, he grew up a mercenary. So I thought that I was about to have a mercenary, but I called the team. I was like, Sheila, you know, who am I talking to? And she said, oh no, I meant to write missionary.
That's so no.
I was very relieved to hear that I wasn't interviewing a mercenary.
No, missionary organization. No, we bring the gospel to like unreached areas and help people, and you know, when needed, food, disaster relief work, rural areas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know you have some ties to Nicaragua and kind of done some of the missionary work there. And then from what I understand, the political climate's been somewhat tumultuous last.
We're a non-political organization, but being American and them being a communist nation, they want to associate those things. We do every effort to make sure that, you know, the gospel is not mixed with any kind of political agenda or our own political opinion. If we have them, which we do, we don't talk about it. You know, we're not here to change any political climate of a country. We provide as much help as we possibly can. We take care of people, like people that work with us. They are all over the opinions of their own political agenda in their own country, and that's their business. We're there to help people and be as ethical as humanly possible and present the gospel, and that's what we've always done. I was on more of the stateside business, you know, providing coffee to the customers and that kind of thing. We had somebody in Nicaragua, somebody in the States go to Nicaragua, and she sold 2 of her houses and bought a coffee farm to donate to the ministry. And so we paid 48% above the national minimum wage. We created a daycare to eliminate the child labor. We changed the picking practices. So instead of just, you know, stripping all of the coffee off of the tree, which is what a lot of places do, a lot of pickers do, because they get paid by the bushel or like by the container. And so the faster you strip the tree, you know, the faster you can get paid. So we adjusted the way that they get paid so that they focus on, you know, the right charities, those kinds of things. And so, yeah, like being, after all of that process, there we did a lot of like conferences, country, and mobilized 1/6 of the country to hear about Jesus, and and so it was about 1 million people, and that to a dictatorship, 1 million people coming together in unity on something is a little scary, right? So. And again, we're not political, but to them, they think everything is political. And so after all of those conferences had ended, they arrested 13 of our pastors, threw them in prison, arrested our lawyers, threw them in prison. Whenever we got all of the paperwork, everything they were asking for, all the evidence of what they were accusing us of money laundering, which they accuse everyone of money laundering. If you look into that country, they accused, I think it was Miss Universe of money laundering because she spoke out against the political regime there.
Yeah.
So
It's like their go-to.
it's their go-to. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Which I don't know how you money launder if you've been audited every single year for 10 years, because that's basically how it was, right? We keep every single transactional receipt and we send it to the government. I mean, and so in fact, like how we did business was so by the book that other businesses that do business in Nicaragua were like, this is not how we do things. We do everything under the table because the government will work with us. And because we were doing everything by the book, it actually opened doors for us for a little while there, to be able to do mission work better, because they were like, hey, these guys are actually here to help the country, they were threatened by 1 million people moving in the country, right? So my parents basically moved to Washington and started knocking on senators' doors to get our people, their local Nicaraguans, right, released from prison. What can we do? After 8 months of, honestly, nothing else could have happened. I mean, does the U.S. government do anything efficiently in 8 months? Probably not. And so, but they did this time. Bipartisan resolutions on the House floor and the Senate floor, and the putting pressure on the government of Nicaragua to release our pastors, and ended up people that weren't even associated with us got released. I don't want to get the number wrong. I think it was like 110 or something like that. Political and religious prisoners were released from Nicaraguan prisons. They were falsely imprisoned, and some of these people are in the States, some of them are in Central and South American countries. I mean, it was pretty crazy. But in the midst of all that, they seized our farm. They seized all of our trucks. They took all of our equipment, our drying equipment, our mills, and all of the coffee that we had cultivated sent from 2017 until 2023. We've been planting trees, we've been developing the soil, and like we use all organic fertilizer. I mean, it was an incredible farm. It was really, really cool. All of it just rotted and fell to the ground, and everything's collected, and it's the jungle, so it's all grown up and all that kind of stuff. So that pretty much shut our old company down. Our whole thing was we own the farm. So me and my family, kind of this big tumultuous, insane business is hard enough without international politics and farming and all of this crazy stuff, and so me and my wife started Ridgeline Roasters here in South Dakota after the last company that we had been really doing to support the ministry and to support the people of Nicaragua. All of that pretty much collapsed, and so we have our own small little cafe, and we're kind of rebuilding, and we still have a heart to help people and fund humanitarian efforts, and we were really heavily involved in anti-human trafficking stuff and rescuing kids out of sex slavery and those kinds of things. So we still have a big heart for that, and we will be doing that. It's just not our frontline, branding and all that kind of stuff. That's just who we are personally. It's who we are as business owners. And so, I mean, we're just a little coffee shop. We roast coffee, and we're not involved in international politics, and we're not getting, our places aren't getting raided and all that kind of craziness. So. Yeah, I mean,
that's a crazy, origin story, right? So now we're, just to recap for everybody. Grew up around that kind of mission in Nicaragua. You were doing the farming, developed some proprietary methods, and I believe some machinery that allows you to keep the consistency and increase the cupping value for your roast, and then got kind of involved, unfortunately, in the international politics.
It's not intentional. It's just happened.
And so what was it, around 2022? Just kind of plant roots and reinvent. And
at the end of 23. So just kind of like timeline origin story for me. 1996, I was born in Paraguay, South America. In early 98, we moved to Mexico, and I lived there till about 2012, 2013. I personally, I finished up high school and stuff here in the States. And then in 2012, we opened up a work in Nicaragua. My brother moved there, doing mission work there. In 2017, somebody donated money for us to get the farm and so on. Right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So curvy, windy road to get here.
Yeah, it's my life, man.
Yeah. And so the last couple of years has been, you've still, sounds like still kind of strong faith-based leadership, ownership. And your wife, I think, are the owners, right?
Yeah.
And then roasting and just serving that local community, maybe starting to get into, from what I understand, starting to get into the e-commerce side of the business.
Yeah. So the original company we worked for, Ridgeline Coffee Company, was pretty much all e-commerce stuff, all online. And then me and my wife, we switched strategies a little bit. We started with local first, providing, coffee shop stuff, brick and mortar. And then we're going to transition into some of our e-commerce, because that's, we know that world pretty well, do a lot of fulfillment, and stuff like that.
Nice. What are some of the challenges when it comes to e-commerce? I know procurement's got to be, it's called hassle, I think is the nice way of saying it.
I think some of the challenges are, one of the best things you can have for an e-commerce business is subscribers, right? Subscription-based models, especially with coffee, is really solid. Get some of that consistency. Yeah. And one of the challenges is when your unit economics changes because of things like tariffs or shipping logistics or droughts, manufacture everything yourselves. Now you have a 50 to 60% increase in your raw goods. Now you have to go talk to all your all your subscribers and be like, hey, now we're losing money. Before, you're making solid margins and stuff to run your business. And next thing you know, it's gone from, $1.87 for coffee to $5 and for green unroasted coffee, and you lose 20% of it in weight roasting. And so it gets really expensive. And so when you're, especially like us, when we're roasting coffee, we're fulfilling, that's generally our challenges. Everyone and their mother has a coffee brand. So in our industry in particular, everyone has the best coffee. Everybody has the coolest brand. Everybody has a great mission, and everybody does it ethically. Not everyone does it ethically, but everybody says they do it ethically. And so the challenges that we encounter is it's how do you say the same, like how do you say the same thing everyone else is saying, but in a way that is one, keeping with integrity, because like if I can't actually do it, and if I'm not actually doing it, I'm not going to say it. That provides a kind of a challenge to some marketing, because I refuse to lie when it comes to what I'm presenting as a product or what I'm able to present to people. And so, and it's not generally other people's fault, because they don't actually know the coffee industry to the extent that I've had the privilege of working in. So whenever they say ethically sourced, unless you actually own the farm or the farmers themselves and how they work, it's nearly impossible to determine whether that actually is the case.
Yeah.
Or fair trade. Fair trade is kind of a buzzword in the coffee industry. It's really fascinating, the kind of practices that you encounter in the farming side of things. The corruption there is absolutely insane. And so now that we've lost our farm, it's been a, an interesting navigating, like, how do I procure coffee and know that I'm not taking advantage of people. And so, yeah, that's been an interesting challenge for sure. So from an e-commerce standpoint, everybody says they can do something. Our COGS change on a monthly to yearly basis, and how do you maintain consistency and quality and not adjust your prices or having to adjust prices too much and those kinds of things. So yeah, that's a big challenge for us.
I bet. And then just asking this so that you can explain to the audience, why is fair trade such a buzz term, and why don't we do more local farming in this industry?
Yeah, well, local farming is not really possible here in the States. Just the climate's not right for it. You can do some stuff in Hawaii, but the regulations are so insane there, and it's just so expensive to get coffee from there. Fair trade, oftentimes, it's just a certification people put on it, and then once you get to the actual drying and milling process, that's where a lot of the corruption happens. And so the companies that mill the coffee and separate the parchment and do the drying process, a lot of times they will mix coffee together that's lower quality, or they will steal straight up high quality farms and pocket the difference in the price and switch out your bags, those kinds of things. And so unless you have your own processing equipment, which is about $2 million worth of processing equipment and about 10 to 15 acres worth of stuff to be able to do that in these countries in the right region and all that kind of stuff, it's very difficult to find coffee that is so heavily controlled. There are places that actually do it really well. Kavoya coffee, they are probably one of the best that I've seen that have like real processes in place to make sure that the coffee is like if you're ordering from this farm, you're getting that farm's coffee, and the practices with that farm are ethical and good, right? So I work with them. I purchase coffee from them, and so that's who I would recommend as far as if you're in the coffee industry, go through Kavoya. They're really great. Or you can contact a farm yourself and figure out the logistics and shipping and all that kind of stuff. It's just really hard and really difficult, and people lie. That's why it's kind of a buzzword. Is like, I understand why we do it. At least in the coffee industry, it's there's a lot of people who just they'll go through the process to get the stamp, and then they will just not do the rest of it after they get the stamp. If that makes sense. Yeah. No,
there's a lot of that going on, I feel like, and there's a big movement right now with the kind of the healthier eating and the additives that they're putting into foods and stuff. But what is it? I saw a special on the non-GMO stamp that they put on, and kind of what companies do to get that stamp, and then they can kind of go around it from there.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
or like organic, for instance, like when you have organic vegetables and things like that, a lot of times it'll be organic from the farm, and then it will go on the truck. And if it's depending on the distance that it's traveling, they will spray. They'll spray everything with the insecticide we're all trying to avoid before it goes on the truck, so that it doesn't get bugs on the way to the grocery store. Yeah.
So it's farmed ethically or organic, but by the time it gets there,
they can still claim it, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing organic coffee, the process to do organic is insane. It's crazy. Like, and I'm all for that kind of stuff. We did all organic practices on our farm, but you had to guarantee a 5-mile radius from your farm of no other farms spraying any kind of insecticide, using any kind of artificial fertilizers or anything like that, which is nearly impossible.
It's hard to do. I'm assuming that the soil and everything, it's heavily sought after.
Yeah, 100%, right? And so we did our organic practices on our farm, but for everybody else on every other farm, there was no way to guarantee that was the case. So we didn't get it certified organic from our stuff, right? And then I mean, it's the certified stuff is really fascinating, like how you get those brands and that kind of stuff. And being from a marketing background, you know that like it's some of this stuff is buzzwords, right? Like it's just how you convince people to buy your product, and the reality behind it is not always the case.
Yeah. And just, kind of going back to what you said earlier, it is a saturated market. So everybody's trying to find whatever they can do or say to get that edge, just to get that product in the customer's hands. And then from there, especially if it's subscription based, hopefully the quality of the product is what matters.
Yeah.
But getting that initial acquisition, I think that's what drives that kind of let's be as aggressive as we can with these claims, and let's get this sticker and this designation and this, right, just so we can get the initial chance at the customer. And it's that saturated.
And you're seeing, what I'm seeing a lot is like the sale of coffee has very little to do with coffee now.
Mm-hmm.
It has more to do with who you're associated with.
Yeah.
Or whatever tribe you're associated with, or whatever ideology, or whatever your hobbies are. So it's like, if you're a biking community, if you're mountain bikers, this is coffee for mountain bikers, right? Like it's really fascinating. Or it's like, if you're military, this is coffee for military.
Black Rifle.
Right? Black Rifle coffee, right? Or if you're a surfer, here's coffee for surfers, right? And it's
right, yeah,
all the same
coffee. Lifestyle brand,
right? Like it's all coffee. It's pretty much all roasted the same. It's got the same caffeine. It comes from the same farms. It comes from the same thing. It's just got a different bag and branding for these people. And it's just fascinating to me that's what's selling the product. It's a, like you said, it's a lifestyle brand. It has very little to do with the product anymore. And so it's like, well, I'm a biker, so I buy biker coffee. It's like,
yeah. Well, listen, you're talking about America, and I might be going back about 10, 20 years, but this is the country that can't make up their mind between Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light. Like, it's all the same stuff. Yeah, but people are loyal as they can be to this exact same thing that's repackaged. It's got a different logo. Yeah. Yeah. So
it is really fascinating. And it's branding is such a massive deal. Mm-hmm. And who you're communicating to. People want to experience something when they grab the bag, and that's the part that I think a lot of coffee companies miss. Now, the thing that, if you focus only on that, you'll only have a customer as long as there's somebody else who has better coffee, right? Or communicates to them emotionally in a different way. And so our goal as a company was always to do all of it, which is kind of an insane, thing, is have the highest quality in the bag and something that speaks to you as a person, in a branding aspect, right? So,
got it.
The Goldilocks zone of marketing and branding, right?
Yeah, the infamous Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're right. You've got to find that balance, and you got to figure out how to make that emotional connection with your audience, because that's the driver and why they're actually buying from you.
Yeah.
Yes, the quality of the product is great, and it is what it is. And I'm sure once they make that first order, they're probably customers for life.
Yeah.
But initially, especially, like they want to make a connection. If they don't have a connection, they have 47 other options that have probably been placed in front of them today.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean, I see coffee ads all day, every day.
All day.
I drive by coffee shops, and I'm a big coffee snob. So I've been to all of them within a 5-mile radius of my house, and I have my favorites.
Yep.
And I literally have favorites for different days. So for different situations,
Yeah.
right? Like if I want to have a meeting with somebody, I go over here. If I want to be alone and just read a book, I go to the coffee shelf. It's about a little harmless plug. They're like 2 miles from my house.
Nice.
So I like, people have their preferences, but that emotional connection is why they patronize, as opposed to there being a vast difference in quality and taste. I think there's a little difference.
Yeah.
But still, it's good coffee in most places.
Yeah.
It's, do I care about this company? Do I care about continuing to give my business to this company? So I think that's important.
And that was always the goal of our coffee shop, is to have vastly higher quality coffee and a completely different experience than everyone else in our city, but something that's familiar enough that people feel at home, right? Not foreign, not a like, oh my gosh, this is really cool, and like a fad kind of feeling, but a warm, comfortable experience that everything feels like it fits like a glove, right? And just high quality, premium, because that's really what we do, right? Like we can't just be low quality coffee and just ship it out to everyone, right? We already have filters, right?
Yeah.
And so creating that experience for our local community, and hopefully for online customers is what we'll achieve, and just be consistent in that.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back just a little bit. You've got a wealth of experience in this industry. You've seen it from a lot of different angles, and you've been in it for a while. If you were the grand poobah for a day, and you could just wave a magic wand and change one big thing about the industry, what would it be? Loaded question.
I would stop stealing 7% from the farmers, because that's how much is stolen. Okay. 7% of every single harvest is stolen, at least in Nicaragua, and it is in a lot of other countries too. They lie. Yeah, they lie, and they say that 14% weight loss has happened in the drying process, but in reality, it's only 7%.
Ah, okay. So another 7% is just kind of unaccounted for.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So it seems like a lot to navigate just as a business owner. You said it at the beginning of the call. It's hard enough to run a business, but you're dealing with corruption and international politics.
It's insane, man.
Yeah.
Like, I have like personal, we're entrepreneurs, so, the entrepreneurial seizure happens and you're like, I'm going to buy another farm, it's like, it's that kind of craziness. But I think the biggest part, that if I was going to really affect the industry and be able to help local areas, in Central America and South America, I'd pick a good farm that doesn't have crazy politics that's going to steal my equipment and all that kind of stuff. So maybe something like Panama or Guatemala or something like that, right? But I would have a dry processing mill where I buy coffee from farms, but I wouldn't buy with the account of 14% weight loss. I would buy it for the 7% weight loss. Yeah, I would just be honest with them, because that 7% is the difference between them making a profit and not making a profit that year, right? And breaking even as a farm.
That's huge. By the time you slice and dice and get through the labor and overhead and everything, that 7% is huge.
It's a deal, right? And so that would be, if I could do that, if I was the grand poobah for the United States industry, I think that we would be, everybody in the coffee industry would be coffee enthusiasts, not snobs. I think the attitude around it, right?
Yeah.
It's, at the end of the day, it is just coffee.
Well, now I get to be a snob because I'm the customer. Okay, so like I'm trying it and I like this, stuff like that.
Right. Well, I mean, from an industry standpoint, I think that a little bit of humility for people, you know, and you know, being able to have new ideas, and what matters is what's in the cup, not just the method, right? What matters is the experience of the customer, not just the industry standard, right? I think that we put too much identity in how we do something instead of the actual result of what it is that we're producing for people. There's a lot of different methods, and as long as it is of really of passion and excitement and joy and fun, instead of like people turning their nose up at a customer for asking for an iced caramel macchiato, which doesn't exist. It's not a real thing, right? Like I get that all the time, but I don't.
They want the macchiato that Starbucks serves, and it's not the same. Yeah,
it's not a real thing, right? Like that's Starbucks just took a name and threw it at an upside down caramel vanilla latte. That's what it is, right? With caramel drizzle. But I don't turn my nose up at a customer for asking for that.
Yeah,
because they don't know. They don't live and breathe 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week of coffee like I do, right? Like, why would I turn my nose up at a customer for asking that? And so I get a lot, especially in our town, I get a lot of people who are actually terrified to try new things and ask for things because baristas and people in the industry will be condescending to them for trying to learn. And I geek out with like the real nerds who know things about extraction and TDS and understanding like percentages and like grind size. And we go at it. And I love that. And as long as we're having fun and enjoying that conversation, I'm all for it. But I have other people who are like, oh, you don't roast the SEA certified roaster way. And that's, I'm like, I'm not here to have a conversation with you. I don't want it works. Yeah. My method works. As soon as you change roasters, your entire profile changes. Your entire company changes. Everything changes. I have trained 9 different roasters that have worked for me, and all of our coffee stays the exact same profile. That doesn't happen in the industry. I'm happy that I was taught by an incredible genius of an artist and his methods, I expounded on them. And credit where credit's due, will always be named to the DOS method. And I think the arrogance, I think that's the big thing in the industry. If I could change it, would be, let's have fun with coffee and enjoy it, and not look down on our nose at people who don't know it. And let's get them excited with coffee with us,
Yeah. I've worked in hospitality for a long time, and I did not get this early in my career doing that. But just explaining something and educating somebody a little bit, they're going to have a better experience, and you're going to have a better customer after a while, and then you can really get into better conversations, and they can try new things. That's big, the try new things, because people are creatures of habit. Yeah. But they're not going to make an emotional connection with the place that they go and get the exact same coffee every single time. Never try anything new. Never hear about this new, roasting method or flavor profile or something, right?
Yeah. They have no idea, or they don't care.
Yeah.
I tell my employees, I tell all of them, I said, the customer is not always right, but they're always important.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I like that.
Make sure they're important and treat them like they're important. Don't try to correct their opinion.
Yeah.
Educate if they want to know. Mm-hmm. Be clear, but be honoring. And so far I have some incredible employees, and that's really hard to find. Consistent, incredible, really, really great employees. So yeah, that's a really long Grey Poupon in charge thing, but I'm long-winded, so
you get to do it. You're the Grand Poobah. You're right. Cool. I just got maybe a couple more questions here. Ask everybody, just if you were to, let's say you got in a time machine and go back to when you first started, I would say after the farm, but when you first started the cafe, what would you do differently, or what advice would you give yourself?
It's a hard question.
No.
I got the benefit of this being my second cafe build.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time ever building a cafe, I would say, don't overcomplicate it. Is the big one. This is a hard question. There's so many things. If I could go back in time, focus, do a few things very, very good. Don't try to do everything. Don't half-ass a bunch of things. Just whole-ass one thing. To quote Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. So
Parks and Rec,
it's really focus in on really high quality individual things. Do that well, and then expand. Don't go full bore trying to develop 1,000 different things. Don't make it feel like you're going into the Cheesecake Factory and trying to order something with a book of menu.
It took them a long time to get there, right?
Like, start with some very simple, good things. Always serve food. You're not going to sell a lot of coffee if you don't have food. And environment matters.
Yeah.
Don't hire people that are hire for attitude, not for aptitude. You can always train skill into somebody. You cannot train somebody's personality. It doesn't matter if somebody was handed the best cup of coffee in the world. If they got a terrible experience with the barista and the barista was rude to them, it will be the worst coffee shop they've ever been to.
Yeah. True. Yeah. It doesn't matter if the music was just right and the ambience was perfect and the coffee was delicious. If somebody was rude, that coffee shop sucks.
Ultimately, coffee is a human experience.
Yeah.
Right. You can't AI coffee. It's not possible. It is a sensory flavor experience, and you can sour somebody's experience by being a sour person. Be kind to people, be nice, go the extra mile. Another thing is don't overhire. Get people who want hours, give it to them. And people know their space a lot better. They make better coffee. It's not just a side gig for them. It's something that they actually have passion for. If people that are only working 1 or 2 times a week maybe are not going to be as good at making coffee as somebody that's in there every day. And so if you want your quality to increase, if you want your customer service to increase, if you want everything to increase better, don't overhire. Just train a few very good people.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Last question. What would you like somebody that's listening right now? What would you like them to know about your company and your coffee?
That we really care about everything we do. That we care not just about our products. We are customer centric. That's what we are. And so because we're customer centric, we're product centric, or product obsessed because we're customer centric, I guess is the better way to put it. If I care about you and how much money that you're spending on my product, I want to make sure that whatever it is that you're receiving is to the best of my ability, the best coffee you're going to have. And maintain that quality over years. And I actually care about you individually. And that's kind of the thing that I tell all my employees, and I hopefully do my best to live out myself.
Perfect. All right. Well, for the audience that's watching right now, where can they get more information about Ridgeline?
Yeah. So we're Ridgeline Roasters Cafe. That's our cafe location in Rapid City. We are currently building an e-commerce platform. It will also be Ridgeline Roasters. So that's coming to launch here soon. And once that's up and running, then y'all can order online and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. If you our Rootline Coffee website is still up and running. That's where we're currently fulfilling through, but we're about to transition all those customers and everybody from that platform. So it's going to be so if you expect us to kind of send you an email here soon, if you want to order some coffee on Rootline, it will be the stuff that we roast. So rootlinecoffeeco.com, that's the online platform that we're selling coffee through, and then we'll be transitioning to Ridgeline Roasters here soon.
Okay, perfect. And what we'll do is as those links get updated, we'll put those links below so that folks can go check it out. So probably by the time this video comes out, those links will be below in the description.
Yeah.
You can just get more information about Ridgeline. And if you're a Rootline customer, probably you'll already get some emails and stuff you already know, but you can go check it out there too.
Awesome.
David, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you answering all these questions. It's been quite a while. So appreciate your patience and giving us all the insight. This has been great.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry for being so long-winded.
No. Like I said, you're the grand poobah. This is coming from a place of real experience. So it's been nice to learn about the industry and understand all those things that your journey to get here and just all the complexities in this industry. I find it kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Then again, I am a coffee snob. So
yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad you like coffee. I need to send you back, man.
Absolutely. I'll take you up on that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, for those of you that are still with us, we appreciate you. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Anything you can do to engage with the brand, it always helps us out. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.